What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to make some more progress on my brother's blue Civic wagon. If you guys haven't seen the previous update to this car, we entirely resealed the engine, threw it back into the car, and got it fired over. Now we've already kind of went through the entire engine to make sure it is all good and dandy. Cooling system is bled out, AC system is working, trans is filled, engine is filled, and it is almost ready to drive. But before it is ready for the road again, we're gonna do the entire suspension, or at least the stuff that are worn down. We got a lot of replacements to install. We're gonna work on the front half of the suspension first. So this right here is a max heating rod traction bar. I've ran this numerous of times. I still currently have it in my KRX, my H2B CRX, and also now my EF sedan. Works wonderful, great price. If you guys are interested in the max heating rod traction bar for the EF chassis, be sure to hit the link in the description below and use the discount code to save a couple bucks off. And part of the front suspension, my brother did change the front LCAs, but he got into a car accident where the front LCAs got bent, or at least the driver's side, and it has one of my old control arm as a replacement. So I figured while we're doing the front suspension, we're going to change out both the lower control arms, and we're going to be using my control arm that came off my EF sedan. I've already painted it black. It already has brand new bushings pushed into it, and I took these out because I went with PCI, so we're going to utilize this in his car. I noticed that his sway bar bushings were mismatched from the left to the right side, and the passenger side is actually pretty squished out, so I figured let's change it out too. I do have these hard race bushings right here. Shout out to the homie Bernie. He gave these to me because his sway bar used a different type of bushing / end link, so he gave me these because he didn't have any use for it, and now it's going to come in clutch for my brother's car. His upper camber arm for the front are kind of worn out. I replaced them like a year ago. Some eBay special, $50 for two that he picked up, and I figured since we're overhauling the suspension, let's just change those out as well too. So I picked up some Wagon Racing upper camber kits right here. The box is big because there is two sets in it, one for the blue car, one for the brown car. For the rear of the car, we already swapped out the camber kit when we did the front a year ago, and those are okay condition, but everything else is pretty much factory. So the lower control arm, I didn't want to go with anything fancy. I am just going to use some OEM ones, press these bushings out, and throw in some protanes right here and right here, because when you buy the kit, this one is one kit and then this one is a separate one. So we got the two boxes for the two LCAs, and then we're going to be switching out the front toe arm. I got these from Rock Auto because his are pretty original from '89, so I'm pretty sure they are crusty as well. This right here is Block's rear trailing arm bushings in spherical because his car is lifted. It is not spaced down like you're supposed to when you get past a certain height, and the OE bushing, I'm pretty sure, is torn and twisted because of the tension. The spherical should move pretty freely, so we're going to be changing these out, and it's easy to install because instead of pressing it in, you just drill two holes, bolt it down, and then you got some new spherical bushings. So with that being said, guys, I'm just going to go ahead and start tackling the front. Let's get to work. Look at this bushing, completely gone. Now I will say though, these hard race doesn't have a spacer in between, so you can't over tighten it because then it'll squish it and do that. So I don't know if there's a torque specification for this or not, but gotta make sure you don't over tighten it. Cross member hardware, there's 4 of them, and they all have a washer each. Don't forget that. Now to run the traction bar, this one specifically, you got to remove the tow hook, because on the traction bar itself, it's integrated right here. EF and DA owners, if you guys are wanting to switch over to a traction bar, make sure you select a traction bar that bolts to the factory cross member location. Do not get the tow hook style unless you're getting the full race unit, because if it is just relying on a tow hook location, the bolts and nut in the backside will rip off the frame, and then you're going to have a lot of movement, and then you're going to have bad wheel alignment slash a ton of wheel hop that could potentially break a bunch of other suspension components. My brother's switching over to a traction bar because the more he drives this car, the more he realizes that his front suspension is moving back and forth a lot, which is typically the caster, and the front cross member actually has a bushing right here for the radius rod, and normally those go bad. Obviously, granted the years that it's been on there from factory, it does give a lot of movement with the caster. So instead of just buying the bushing and replacing that, we're opting for a traction bar to make everything fully solid. All right, so mind you guys, I do know that this shock is blown. Now the reason why this one is blown is because this is the driver's side, and when the lady that ran into my brother's car, it hit his front end right here, fender, wheel, which then pushed the wheel back, that bent the radius rod, the LCA, and probably blew out the shock as well too. The lady literally just went up right here and damaged this whole side. I believe I have a video of me repairing his front end, but his shock is blown now that I have it out of the car, and we're gonna have to replace this one. Probably gonna replace the pair later. The two front shocks is from a 1993 CV7 Accord, and the rear shocks are actually 1993 Integra 4-door rear shocks. And when I buy, obviously I'm gonna have to buy two for the Accord, probably two for the DA if you want to change it. The back aren't blown at all, but if the fronts are blown, change both of it. He did say that the car felt like it was kind of like a boat in the front half of the car, and this probably explains why. These are the eBay $50 camber arms, and this bushing is okay, or nope, that is torn right there in the back. The other side for sure verified it was torn, so we're gonna be popping them off. Now this thing didn't have a lot of adjustability, so if you look on the top, I did drill it out to get more adjustability out of it, and that's kind of sketch because I don't feel like this camber arm has enough structure. So with me cutting that out, you know, this might fail later down the road. So I'm gonna go ahead and just knock the old one out, and then we'll unbox the Megan Racing. Look what I found out. I'm glad I'm changing the upper control arm because this guy is strip. You can't really see it with the GoPro, but take my words for it, that whole top half is strip. Yeah. Gonzo, look at the bushing. A year ago. Changed this out a year ago. This side also strip. Terrible. Gonzo. Now I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I've never ran anything Megan Racing before, but I will say that a lot of my friends do, and Megan Racing has came up on their products over the last many years, and a lot of people have been having good results with their products. So I decided to give it a shot because I've compared this to a lot of brands, and let me tell you guys, They are all very similar. So this was the cheapest one on the list between the 4 brand that I had originally selected. Now let's go ahead and open it up, see what they look like, how they feel, and then we're probably going to install it. Megan Racing got a little sticker there, little warranty package. Everything is bubble wrapped, so that's good. This is a tubular style arm opposed to the typical like tuner series, which is like the one we just took off. I trust the tubular much more than the thinner one, and it's funny I say that because I have S2 in my car and I only ran it because I had it, but if I had a chance to change it, I would. Damn, this shit looks aggressive. Holy shit. Right off the bat, way more adjustability than the eBay unit right here. It's almost half the length more that we can adjust in, which I don't think we'll need to adjust all the way in because we're going to be interfering with the shock. But even with this, where it's currently sitting at, the alignment was in spec, so it's just nice to know that we have that adjustability without having to modify like this. It looks like we're going to have to reuse these right here, or actually I lied. Megan Racing does come with its own what are these? I don't know, anchors or whatever, but we don't have to use our old one, so that means we'll have some fresh bushing up here as well. It does come with a little bracketry right here and its own hardware. That's freaking awesome. This thing is freaking zinc coated too. It's gonna look fresh in the engine bay, but that's freaking awesome. Got the cotter pins right here. I'm already loving this compared to the S2s, the eBay ones, the tubular stuff. I really do love them. So sorry you guys got smacked by the cardboard. You guys know what I just found very interesting right now? I just unpackaged this right here to get all the anchors right here, and this looked very familiar. Came out of this package, obviously Megan Racing, right? Don't mind me digging through my trash, but Hard Race, same freaking label. I did pre-position these joints because the car is lifted. These are rubber bushings, so you don't want to load them straight, and then when the car gets lifted or slammed, it's going to twist the bushing. All right guys, so this is the next day, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, man, yesterday when I was putting the suspension back together, it was such a fight with how tall and how much the suspension is extracted due to the lift. So I had a major fight with trying to put the fork back on, and then I noticed that it actually interferes with the traction bar because it is much bulkier right here, and the fork itself hits the traction bar. So I had to do a lot of shaving, back and forth. I think I pulled the fork off like 20 times just to get this to fit, and we got the suspension obviously put back together. And this applies to both sides. With the factory radius rod, it is much thinner, so there wasn't an interference before, but with how big this rod is, we had to shave that down a little bit. It clears now. It's golden. I drove it last night. Doesn't make any noise, but most definitely needs an alignment. Usually when I install traction bars, I eyeball the caster with my eyes and a measuring tape to get the wheel to be somewhat centered in the wheel well. So right here we have like a thumb, and then back here we have about 3 fingers. And honestly, the turning radius is good, but I do want it to be a little more centered in the wheel well, so I have to adjust the caster to bring the wheel back a little bit, because I do notice that it is kind of towed in, I think. I don't remember, but real quick on this side, because this is the side where the frame got hit, the bumper is kind of like pushed down, so the gap here is really tight. So I'm gonna try to like space the bumper support to tilt the bumper up to get this to open up the gap a little bit, because you can see that the arch is not like a perfect half circle. It comes up to about right here and then it hooks in. So if you look, this is about the same as the other side, and that just needs an adjustment. But anyways, I did do the camber yesterday with my RC camber gauge tool right here. Let me show you guys real quick. This is sitting at 0 degrees on the gauge, right? Yesterday was +5, and because this car is lifted, the bolts are literally right there, and all I did was adjust that, kick the wheel in, and locked it in place. So when this thing goes to the alignment shop, shouldn't take too much to get it within spec, but definitely need to correct the toe a little bit because I feel like the caster is a little bit forward. I could mess with the caster right now, but the place that he goes to, they do mess with the traction bar to get the caster straight. So what I want to do right now is I want to flip the car around so we can start on the rear. Before I jack the car up and start tearing the rear end apart, I'm actually gonna go ahead and press out these old bushings from my EF sedan LCAs, and then get the ES bushings installed, so that way we can do the entire shebang all at once. So simple enough, just gotta prop the LCA, find a socket or a spacer that's big enough to cover the race, so that way when you press it in, it should just press it all the way through. This is kind of one of those scary things because it's probably gonna bend the LCA a little bit before it actually pops. You guys will see what I'm talking about. Woo! That definitely popped. That's the scary part. Right there. Now 5 more to go. Taking these bushings out of these LCAs was a pain in my booty. Never had to deal with this before, but there's a first for everything. So I originally pressed out that first one that popped right here, and then this one was like not budging. These guys weren't budging. Just to show you guys, this is freaking half square angle iron, and you can see how it's bowed right there. That's how stuck the bushing was. It freaking maxed out my damn press and bent this right here. So I just opt to, you know, drilling out the bushing and then cutting the race, the sleeve right here, and then pretty much just, you know, trying to loosen it up and then press it out without the center bushing. So these popped out after, you know, a little bit of time, but I think I spent overall like an hour and a half to do this, which should have just been faster if this would have just freaking budged. But you know, it is what it is. These are the bushings right here for the outside of the LCA. Part number right here, B20VTEC-302-BL 88 to 95 Civic. I believe the EKs are a little bit different. And then for the center of the lower control arm, which is for the shock and then the shock top hat. So we have the top hat bushings right here if you really want to change them out. And then we have the bushings for the center, part number 8-902-BL, also the same between the EF and the EGs. So it's pretty straightforward. You just gotta lubricate inside, you know, in between all of the bushings and then the sleeve itself. Press them together, whether you got some strength in your hand, a vice grip, or a press. So I'm gonna show you guys one and then we're just gonna knock it out. Just like that. Just wipe it clean and you should be Gucci taters. Voila. Now let's go ahead and get the car in the air. You guys probably know by now how I evict spider residency, torch, and brake cleaner. Right there on the floor, you see that? There's like 2 nests and a black widow. Sorry, bud. So before I start taking everything apart, I want to show you guys real quick. Lower control arm on the passenger side says LH, left hand, and then you got on the driver's side RH, right hand. Reason for that is because I flip-flop left, right, right, left, and then I flipped it upside down to achieve another inch or inch and a half lift. If you guys haven't taken notice, the rear of the car is about a fist size gap taller than the front. The front, you can't go any more than where it's currently at, otherwise you start having axle binding. You're gonna have suspension touching each other. You need a subframe lift to get everything back into geometry and an engine drop, I believe, but I don't want to deal with that unless he wants to buy like the HRG kit, which I don't know if they sell just the front because the rear is lifted pretty tall already. But LCAs are flip-flop, and you can see the bushings are freaking shot. These are the original lower control arm to the car. And I also took notice that the trailing arm bushing has been filled in by somebody, and I definitely didn't do that, but you can see it's all torn up. So with the spherical, it should, you know, obviously pivot with the trailing arm and not tear up a bushing as if it was solid mounted like that. So this is going to be fun to try to put that shock back on because it's so freaking lifted. Guys, look at this. It's not even connected. Another big reason why his car sways all over the road. Got the rear trailing arm sleeve knocked out. This thing is pretty crusty. The lower control arm we popped off earlier. The bushing is pretty shot as well too. And then I also popped off the toe arm, and these don't look too bad, but I figured let's change it out while we're at it, right? Except the problem is when I opened the box from Rock Auto and I ran the part number, I actually ordered the upper camber arm right here, which has 2 flange, and I don't have replacement toe arms. I'm gonna be dead ass honest with you guys, man. This was a struggle. This was more struggle than the first and second time that I've done this, and we fell into the night. So with the spherical trailing arm bushing, nothing moves, and a lot of prying and stuff to get it all fit into the factory location as far as the bolt hole goes. And I thought I stripped the inside 17 mil right here, but it was just at a weird angle. So once I jacked everything up, kind of fell into place, bolted all up. The toe arms, I marked it where the factory bolt originally landed, and then I adjusted the toe to the factory length of the toe arm and bolted that back up. This was a struggle. I had originally put this one on first. This one was binding. This wasn't even close, so I had to take this back off, bolt the center one first, and then bolt this one in place, and then jack this one up to line that up. So all of the bushings, everything, bolts, camber arms, everything is all installed. And man, I gotta repeat this on the other side, but you guys get the idea. I already got this side done for you guys, so I'm just gonna go ahead and knock out the driver's side, and just want to be done with this already. So while I was underneath the car, I noticed his muffler is cracked right there, and something in here is also broken, and something in the exhaust system is also broken. I don't know if it's from the resonator or a shield or something, but listen to this. Definitely broken here, and I don't know what that tinging noise is up there. I'm gonna see if he wants to upgrade his exhaust system, because he was talking about it feeling a little congested. Granted, it is a B20V. He has a stock Civic exhaust system, which is 1 3/4, and B20VTEC likes to breathe a little bit. So I do have the homie Leo's old 2 1/4 exhaust system in the backyard, because I gave him mine when I put the B16 into his car. And I also have the homie Isai's Wagon specific 2.5 exhaust, except I don't have a resonator or a muffler on it. So if I'm gonna do it for my brother, definitely want a muffler and a resonator. It's like mandatory to make sure this thing doesn't like rasp or anything. I look like a freaking mess right now, rolling around on the floor for a couple of hours. This thing took a lot longer than I had hoped for, but at the end of the day, it is all said and done. Front and rear suspension upgrades. The fronts, we did Max Peen Rod traction bar. Shout out to Max Peen Rod for getting the traction bar out to me so quickly. If you guys are interested in the same one for your EF, it applies to the hatch, the wagon, the sedan, the CRX. Use the link in the description below to Max Peen Rod's website. Use the discount code YStatic to save 10% off. It helps me out more than you guys know. We also did the Megan Racing upper camber kit and the lower control arm that came off my sedan with the ES bushings. And the rear, we ended up using the SPC toe spherical arms, and then we did the block spherical trailing arm bushing along with new bushings for the lower control arm itself. The main thing it needs after this is just the alignment, and hopefully everything gets within spec. Regardless, the blue car is ready to go off the driveway, and the brown car can come up so we can diag whatever's going on with the clutch hydro conversion. And then once we situate that, the fun stuff can begin, or one of the fun stuff can begin. But anyways, it's super late. It's currently 12:33. I'm gonna wrap it up for this video. I hope you guys enjoy a little bit of progress update on my brother's blue wagon. If you guys did, be sure to leave a thumbs up. And if you guys want to stick around for more wagon content, be sure to hit the subscribe button. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.